Hey, Mark.
Hey, Christina, how are you today?
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for helping with this tonight. Again.
You're very welcome. So, Mr. Husbands, what I'll do is when everybody's in, all the commission members are in, I will turn the meeting over to you as a host. And then if it works for me, I'll make your vice chair a co-host so you both can be helping each other out. And then I will exit the meeting.
Okay, and then I just need to basically be able to call on anybody who attends as a member of the public and does the hand raising thing, and I guess the rest of it is pretty straightforward.
Yes, even if they don't raise their hand, you should see them in the attendee list. You can always call on them and unmute them, and they may not know how to raise their hand and do all of that, even though we have provided directions.
Yeah.
But they should all show up in the attendee list once I move all the commissioners in as panelists.
Okay. Let me go off video for a couple minutes. Oh, one other basic question. How are we going to do the roll call? I don't have a full roster of everyone's names on hand.
Oh, Christina, do you? I don't have. Did you receive new members at the latest appointment by council?
There was an item for Monica Johnson.
Oh, yes, she was appointed. Let me see what I have.
Okay, so I've got commission minutes from June 11th that have all the commission members named on it, except for Monica Johnson. So we could probably just use that.
Do you have a Karen Miller on the commission?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can't find the roster somewhere.
Okay.
Because if I can, then I can stay in and do the roll call.
Okay.
To find it. Oh. Not good. So real quick, I have Christine Adams, Kate Truesdale,
Mhm.
Stephen Young.
Yep.
Karen Miller, Mark Husbands, Gary Manfrey, perhaps,
Yep.
and Monica Johnson.
Monica Johnson. Yep.
Okay, I have everybody here.
Okay. And then John Stone is the council
Yes.
liaison. Yep.
And then I have you and Dave.
And then Dave Lewis and Shannon. Shannon on here. Let's see.
That's okay. Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
all. Yeah, we don't need to do roll call for
Okay.
staff or
Perfect.
council. It's just for commissioners.
Okay, that works.
And Deb will add all of you to the minutes that you were there as staff or.
Okay. Perfect.
So we can just do the roll call for the commissioners then? Is that the,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, that person's on. Sorry, Karen, not ignoring you. How are you? Did I mention Stephen Young? Is he on the commission?
You mentioned, yeah, you had
Okay,
him.
I just want to make sure I'm hitting all the right commissioners.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Right. So, Mr. Husbands, can you see in the attendees now we have a guest who's going to wish to speak? Or did he go?
I'm not seeing the attendees bar. Let me see. How do I get that?
So if you go down to the bottom where it says participants,
There it goes. All right.
then you should see, I believe, do you see the one that says attendees? Panelist attendees.
I see an attendee. Correct.
Okay. All right. So that's where you'll go for public comment. Do you all do a formal roll call vote for your minutes, or do you just do yes or no?
You do normally kind of do it in the more formal way. Although,
Okay,
yeah, I don't.
I gotcha. I'll stay on and do the roll call for that too. Then.
Good evening.
Hi there.
Are we on?
Yeah, Jim, we're on. We haven't started yet, though.
Okay, I'm going to log out and log back in. I saw a screen come up that asked me about a green screen, so I hit green screen.
Are you wearing an all green outfit?
I feel green and I'm wearing a green outfit and the wall behind me is green, so I'm leaving. I'll come right back.
Okay.
Well, it's 5:30, but we'll give Jim a minute to hop back in, and then we'll get started on the agenda. And welcome everybody to this evening's Parks and Rec Commission Zoom meeting. And I can see we have 3 attendees. Charles is back, Paul Regala, and Porvi from Englewood Unleashed are all on. So as soon as we're done with some of the basic business of roll call and minutes, then we'll go to those folks and give you a chance to speak if you would like to. You should see the little raise hand function on there somewhere, and it'd be helpful if you could use that to activate. And then I would just ask that you please limit your time to about 3 minutes, just so we could keep moving along through the agenda. So let's give Jim a minute and then we'll get going.
Okay, I guess I'm stuck with a green screen tonight. Till I can figure that out.
Can you go back and undo that? Just click that thing on your,
It was the first thing that came up after open Zoom. It said, I'd never seen that come up before. It said,
okay.
so I don't know what's happened here.
Well, we won't worry about it. Let's
Okay.
go ahead and get started then with roll call.
Christine Adams,
Here.
Kate Truesdale,
Here.
Stephen Young,
Here.
Karen Miller,
Here.
Gary Manfrey, and I apologize if I said your name wrong.
Present. Oh, perfect.
Monica Johnson, I do not see. Jim Woodward
Here,
and Chair Husbands.
Here.
There is a quorum present.
Okay. In that case, we can go to the minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or comments on the meeting minutes from last month's Zoom meeting?
I'll move the minutes of June 11th, 2020.
I'll second.
Karen, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question about the minutes?
It's just I was actually on the last one in June, but I didn't have a green screen and I could hear you guys, but I couldn't see anything. So I did hear everything that happened at the last meeting. I just wanted to let somebody know.
And I apologize, who did the second?
Christine Adams.
Thank you so much. Are you ready for roll call? Vote. Ms. Adams, how do you vote?
For the minutes?
Yes, please.
Oh, aye.
Ms. Truesdale,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Ms. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Manfree,
Aye.
Mr. Woodward,
Yes.
and Chair Husbands.
I'm sorry, I got cut out there and dropped off, and now I'm reconnected. I'm not exactly sure what we were up to.
We're voting on the minutes.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. And I was in the middle of trying to figure out if Karen had raised her hand and had something to add.
She said
Can
she
you
was
hear me?
here last time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I
Thank you
could
all.
hear I could hear the meeting, but I couldn't see anything. I didn't have a green screen though. I wasn't lucky enough as Jim was.
Okay. Well, hopefully I won't get dropped off again. But with that, we can go to our visitors. Does anyone would anyone like to offer public comment before we move on to the other agenda items? Please go right ahead. Corby, please.
Hey there, I'm sorry, I'm doing Zoom on my phone, so I'm not sure if you guys can see me via video or not. But I actually just wanted to clarify that Paul and I are here just in attendance. We couldn't find the YouTube live stream because we just wanted to observe the meeting. We don't have any formal public comment because we already have meetings set up with Christina and Dave. So just wanted to clarify we're only here just to kind of listen to y'all's discussion.
Okay, well, you're absolutely welcome. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And Paul, I see your hand is up also. Did you want to add anything else, or did Corby cover it there? Paul?
Okay, how about now?
Yes, sorry.
Can everybody hear me now? Okay, great, because I was in the middle of talking and the window came up to say unmute. So
yeah.
So I was in the yeah, I just wanted to I just wanted to do sort of an early introduction of myself to Christina and Dave. I guess we'll be meeting at Jason Park next Thursday. So I'm looking forward to meeting you there, and yeah, I'll be serving as the Parks and Rec liaison from Englewood Unleashed to Parks and Rec. So so I guess that's I guess this is just sort of an introduction for right now. So that was it.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, a moment here. All right, I think that leads us to code enforcement with Dave Lewis.
Hi. Good evening. Sorry about that. So first off, I want to thank you all again for inviting me back to answer questions. Please feel free to invite me whenever you feel it is necessary to get clarification, answer questions. I'm always available. You can even call me by phone. I also want to thank many of you who have sent me and my team some very encouraging emails over the last, since we last met. And I really just want to let you know that during these trying times, positive feedback that we've received from all of you has gone a long way, and I've shared those with my staff. So thank you. It really does keep our job in focus and allows us to remember why we're here to serve our community. So thank you. I guess there were some questions that I needed to answer in reference to enforcement. There was something that was brought up at the last meeting that I guess I'm confused about, and I need clarification and want to answer your questions as to how we do enforcement within the parks.
So that may have been me. I'm not sure. I guess maybe there was some discussion afterwards, but I had gone and talked to a few residents kind of at the various parks, and it had been mentioned by more than one resident that they had witnessed a couple of situations where the trucks were driving across the park and kind of chasing people down. And I wasn't sure I don't really have a lot of context for it other than I just gone to ask them kind of what their thoughts were. It was kind of related to the dog park situation or the off-leash dog parks.
Oh.
And they had mentioned that some of the enforcement guys had been a little bit, maybe the word's not aggressive, but they'd seen something that they were not super comfortable with as far as being chased down across parks. And I didn't have any context other than just bringing it up saying I had heard this and I wasn't sure what the situation was.
Okay. So that's very valid. I need everyone to understand that our first priority when we're doing enforcement is to be a visible presence. Being a visible presence is the largest deterrence that we can have when it comes to those people who are violating park rules, not just animal related, although that seems to be the bulk of them. We'll frequently go and we'll park somewhere in the grass, somewhere in a park for a considerable amount of time. We at times do need to transverse quickly through parks, and due to their demographics and their topography, using a vehicle is the easiest way to maximize our area and to minimize the amount of foot traffic. I believe we did receive a concerning call in reference to a code officer that did drive through a park, and I think it was specifically at Bates Logan Park. It's easier for us to travel through the park rather than getting out of our vehicle to go on foot. It's also safer right now during COVID. It does allow for an extra barrier and space for officers to interact. We've found all too often that when we do show up and we do see violations, someone, and I'm not sure who in the community, has been spreading some information that, oh, code enforcement can't enforce this if you run away or you don't talk to them or you ignore them. And we do know who you are and we do know where you live. Believe it or not, we spend thousands of hours in our community each year, and whether we see you in the park, we may wind up in your home issuing you a ticket. Does that answer the concern that citizen might have had?
They were just concerned that they were a little bit alarmed by seeing it. And like I said, I don't have a lot of the details of them. They were just like, they hadn't seen, I guess, a truck driving through the middle of the field before. And they weren't sure if that was typical procedure or if there was something that more significant that had happened, I think.
No, and each circumstance is very different. The particular case that I'm speaking about that the person called on, there were two dogs that were playing very aggressively. So it was a safety measure, and also allowed us to cover ground quicker to intercede the two dogs that were playing in an overly aggressive manner in an area that is not off leash.
Okay, thank you.
And then we presented some statistics to council, and I wanted to see if you guys had any questions as to the number of warnings or citations that we've issued since the beginning of the year. Okay. Is there anything else that I can answer for you while I'm here before I leave?
Not for me.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate you having me here. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly to answer any of your questions, or to even invite me to come back to answer questions for you.
Thank you, Dave.
Good night.
Okay, that leads us to off-leash dog parks with Christina.
Hey, everybody. So we just wanted to give an update that council made the decision earlier this week, I guess, to bump up the off-leash dog park topic to July 20th. Originally, they were going to postpone anything until we could have an in-person public meeting and allow individuals to come in person to make comments, but they made the decision to move it forward on July 20th. So Kate and Mark, myself, and Dave Lee and Dave Lewis will be attending that, along with potentially some other individuals. We're still working through those details, but we're going to take the recommendations of the commission and present those to council, and then they can make the determination on next steps. Nothing will be implemented. You know, they can probably give us some more direction on where to go, if we need to have more meetings, do more research, whatever it may be. We're working with Englewood Unleashed to come up with some resolutions on how to potentially make improvements to the off-leash program. So that was just the update that I had for this evening. Mark or Kate, anyone have any questions?
No, that sounds like a plan. I had heard that, I mean, we've had a lot of comments, and I had heard that there was a lot of comments on Monday night, so I'm not surprised that it got moved up, and I think it'll probably be a long meeting with lots of people involved, but the time is right to talk about it, right?
Yeah, and to make a quick comment on that too, it's a study session, which does not allow for public comment. So council will be able to have a good discussion of their ideas and some of the challenges that they've heard and seen as well. And so like I said, it's really going to provide us potentially with next steps on how to proceed with research or whatever it may be.
That's great.
So this might have been obvious from the information that you provided about the study session, but is this going to be an in-person event for us, or are we going to be attending virtually?
It'll be just like this. It'll be a Zoom meeting. They're still meeting online and probably will continue until August, if not longer.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. That sounds good. And with Dave attending, then, you know, one of my concerns is just that as we're able to kind of, you know, provide a clear picture of why the recommendations of the commission are what they are, that is focused on playgrounds and pavilions and places where there are rented fields for youth sports. I just want to make sure that we're able to highlight the complaints and incident reports that Dave Lewis might have on hand that justify that focus. I mean, I know that from the course of many of our meetings and discussions, those cases seem to be the ones that come up the most often. But I just want to be sure that we'll be able to, you know, explain why it is that we have that particular focus in the recommendation.
We do have a short amount of time for the presentation. They're only giving us 10 minutes, but they've left 50 minutes for discussion. So if we can't cover something necessarily in the presentations, we're thinking of having Dave start off with just a brief history overview of when the program started and kind of how it's progressed over the years, and then have Kate jump in and give the recommendations of the commission with a little maybe back history for each recommendation. And then I'm, like Englewood Unleashed said, we're going to be meeting on Thursday the 16th, so it's prior to that meeting. Whatever comes out of that, I'll be able to give a brief update to council too with some of their recommendations on how they see this program fitting in better with Englewood's program. So that's kind of the idea. I know council's going to have a lot of questions, and that's where as a group we can work together to answer those and give them the information they're looking for.
Yeah.
Mark, if I can jump in for the attendees who are listening in as well. What Christina covered as regarding the study session is correct, but I wanted to add one more thing. There will be no formal decision making. All they're doing is fact finding there. So there will be no vote, there'll be no decision making. Nothing will come of that meeting as far as any kind of a rule or regulation.
It's just for them to understand the commission's recommendation. So
That's
anything
correct.
that would be a decision-making process would occur in an open council meeting.
In a regular council meeting, yes.
And Kate, thank you for being willing to present on this as well.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna go all the way, man. We're gonna take it through the finish line and try to solve this.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I guess for Dave. Dave, there's been on social media on Nextdoor, there's been quite the response, and there's been stuff that is flat out incorrect. I mean, really incorrect. Like Jason Park has always been a dog park, always. You know, I guess since beginning of time, which I know isn't correct. And I know when we started talking about dog parks is when we put a leash law into force in the city of Englewood. And I think council needs to understand that's when that all started. So this wasn't something that's always been in place.
Well, Jim, I also think that, number one, you're dealing with next door, and that doesn't mean that you're always dealing with factual information. You're dealing with people's opinions and half-truths or whatever else is out there, or whatever they've heard. So you have to take those things with a grain of salt, I believe.
Well, I take them with a grain of salt because I was there when it all happened, but it's just outrageous in a way. And I know what it's like to respond on any of that stuff, what happens. Can I also ask a question of Paul? And that is, how long have you been with Englewood Unleashed? And how large is your membership these days?
Honestly, I'm sorry, I had a mouthful. I've been an off and on member for probably, the first time I joined was probably about 2012, and then I dropped off, and then I joined again, and then I dropped off. As far as the, I've recently just come back into it. I think Purvey probably has the information about how many members there are. I don't really know exactly what the membership number is.
Okay.
Purvey, you're I see your hand is up and you're unmuted. So if you want to step in.
Sure. Yeah, so right now, Jim, I wanted to introduce myself. I don't know if you met my husband in like previous interactions, but I'm Ross Fenning's wife. Ross is still on the board as vice president, but the two other board members that I think you guys have interacted with previously, Martell, Paul, and Kaylee Wallace, they're also still involved. I've kind of stepped in as president, so that's why you're seeing me now. And our membership base is 463 active people on our listserv, and then on our Facebook group we have right around 200-300 people active on the Facebook group. Obviously, there's more people in the membership that aren't active, but I would say that our active membership's right around 200.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
I was just going to bring up, Mark, you sent an email today talking about quantitative information for the meeting on July 20th. And I kind of just wanted to echo that. So I don't know, Dave and Christina, if it's possible to maybe get a total amount of the complaints that we've received since we kicked off this Parks and Rec sub-leash committee group, just because I feel like maybe if we could kind of share that with them at the study session, they would maybe, I don't know. Do you guys have that information readily available?
So we have the emails that have been sent, and council has received all of those emails, both for and opposed to off-leash dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's included in their packets, just as you had it in your packet this evening. We've received a few more since yours went out, so we'll make sure they're updated on the council packets. But code enforcement, Dave Lewis can help provide some of the other data regarding issues they've been seeing for some time now and all that. So that's kind of the direction we're headed. We're only having a 10-minute presentation to really dig into the weeds, maybe a little difficult, as we want to make sure they get their questions answered too.
Definitely. I'm just thinking like ahead of like what are some questions and they might ask, and I feel like having kind of thought those through would be good. But
I mean, it seems like they would be likely to ask how frequent genuine public safety problems have been associated with the off-leash dog activity. And I know over the years there's been incidents with bites, and there's been incidents with aggression to people, including children. And so I I think that those things drive home that, you know, there's a bunch of issues associated with kind of the aesthetics and the ability of people to enjoy the parks, and the compatibility of general park use with you know, off-leash dog use in unconfined areas. But there's another level that has to do really with the public safety component. And I just want to be sure that we're able to communicate that when they ask. And I do understand that with 10 minutes, we'll have to kind of get right to the recommendations and may not be able to dig into that kind of stuff. But I think it's likely that they'll ask. And so it'd be helpful if we were able to respond to that.
Yeah, and also one of the things that I find personally one of the most fascinating is the fact how much an animal costs when it gets taken back to its owner through the shelter. And we have those numbers through 2018, but if we could get them for 2019 and then also where we are year to date 2020, I think that would be interesting to have too. And we got those from Dave originally.
Dave's back, and I saw him raise his hand, so I want to go to Dave. But I do one issue about those numbers with the pound is that I don't know, and Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that they differentiate between the incidences that are occurring in parks and just all the incidents that occur in the city. I think those large figures are citywide.
Yeah.
But Dave, why don't we go back to Dave Lewis since you were raising your hand?
So statistic-wise, our system is very archaic, and understand that I have to go through and manually count specific cases. So when you just heard the over 600 warnings that we issued since January 1st up until June 21st, those were all manually counted for only Englewood parks because I can look it up who owns it. As far as the safety components, I can highlight a few cases. Yeah. The concern that I have on that factor, based off of the comments that were made on to council on Monday, most of the safety concerns are not being reported. So the people that were having those conversations are reported to council on Monday or spoke. Some of those concerns I have not heard before. Most of the violations that we encounter were either 911 calls or officer initiated activities where we saw the violations and took action.
Okay, well, that's very helpful to understand.
If I may too, I listened to the conversation on Monday at council, and I think all but one or maybe two were for the commission's recommendation and provided personal examples of why they felt that way. So it's encouraging, at least from a community engagement standpoint, that we're hearing and council is hearing both sides of this issue. So I just wanted you all to know, if you didn't listen in on Monday, that those concerns were raised as well. So it's not, the citizens haven't been silent on supporting the commission's recommendation either.
Thank you, Christine.
I have one other question. If originally, when council brought it up, not when we started doing it 2 years ago or a year ago, whenever that was, but when council brought it up and you brought it to us, Christina, it was a question about Emerson Park. Mm-hmm. Should the city or should Parks and Recreation open up Emerson Park to off-leash dogs? And we had a recommendation with closing down Jason Bates Centennial and opening up Emerson. Do we need to have a recommendation at this time what we would do with Emerson right now? I mean, I didn't vote to open Emerson without the other things happening. We didn't have that vote.
So I believe the recommendations, we did present them and you guys agreed to move these forward to council, but the privileges would be removed from Centennial, Jason, and Duncan, and then adding Emerson in as an official off-leash park was what is being presented to council. And again, council can choose to go a different direction too.
And don't forget, we were leaving Northwest Greenbelt as off-leash. And we were also going to look at funds for Cushing Park and creating an off-leash park there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to highlight that a big part of this recommendation is really to prioritize that facility being developed and get people behind the idea of having a formal, safe facility for off-leash dog use over in Cushing. You know, it's in the plans. It's a project that costs some money, but not an unreasonable amount relative, I think, to other park projects. And I really think that you know, getting the council you know, behind that project and moving it forward is a big part of making this package of recommendations work. I think that once you start, if you start to pick and choose pieces of the recommendation, then it doesn't really represent a comprehensive idea for how to balance the issues associated with off-leash use and you know, with incompatible other park uses and the off-leash use that people enjoy. So, you know, I mean, the council, I'm sorry, the commission recommendation is meant to, you know, is intended to balance that understanding of where the public is on this.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else on off-leash dogs and the commission recommendation and or the council study session? See if I can find my agenda. That leads us to reopening of parks and recreation facilities. We've got Allison on the list, but I don't think she's in attendance.
She's not. I'm going to cover it for her. She had an emergency pop up this evening, so I'll cover it. So she was just going to give an update on both Mally and the Englewood Recreation Center and opening, and I have a very short video to show you about, if you haven't seen it, how they're managing people coming into the facility and the requirements that we have. It's just not a free-for-all. You do have to make a reservation. We were originally starting it with 1 hour time slots for reservations, and we've bumped it to 2 hours now. I actually saw an increase in people taking advantage of a little extra time at the center, which is great. So there's certain things that aren't open yet, like pickleball and the basketball courts aren't open yet. Racquetball's not open yet. It's just closed, confined spaces. Obviously, basketball is a hard sport to play without having close contact. So you can go and shoot around by yourself. Not as fun, but you can do that. But just as far as numbers are concerned, per week, and usually we're seeing around 300 people a day. So this will give you a good idea of how little people are in there. So if you want to get a nice workout and have a gym to yourself almost, you can go work out at the rec center. But about average is about 550 people per week that we're seeing at the recreation center. As far as Mally's concerned, those numbers are even smaller, but that's done on purpose. That's our most vulnerable population, and so we're being very careful with that. The time slots that we have per hour, and then we leave some time in between each one for cleaning and sanitizing equipment that was used. They're only 1 hour, and about each one has 9 to 13 people at a time in the facility. And staff has gone about spreading out all the fitness equipment into other rooms that we're not using for classes right now, to make sure people are spread out really well. So and Mally's averaging about 200 or less per week at the facility. So that's what she had. And if you don't mind, I'll show you a quick video. See if I can share my screen and you guys can see the video that they put together for opening the facility. Hold on one second. Never easy as it looks.
While you're doing that, Christina, is the track open yet?
So we put all the fitness equipment, a lot of it up on the track area. So it is not easily accessible. We're not allowing walking. Part of it's just airflow circulating around too.
Sure.
So yeah,
just checking for my own personal reasons.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Let's see, I might not be able to do this. This is fun. What we'll do, how about this? I'll just send the link out to everybody so you can see requirements. We'll just do it that way since technology is not my friend tonight. So any questions on reopening? Quickly too, Pirates Cove is open. Originally, we were able to only have 150 slots for the 2-hour time slot. So the 10 to noon, then we take a break to clean. Then we come back 10 to noon, 1 to 3, and 4 to 6. So it's 2 hours, 150 people. We were able to increase that to 250 people. Initially, we thought we'd be operating a significant revenue loss for Pirates Cove, but council made the decision to open it as it's a good for our community and something that many pools are closed. So there's no place for kids to go except for rivers and lakes, and that's not so safe. So anyways, we bumped it to 250. We're filling up the time slots. You do have to make a reservation through the Pirate Cove website if you want to go out there. Great news is 250 at a time does not fill up that park whatsoever. We're used to 1,600 people a day in there. And so there's no lines at the slides. You can just keep going down the slide all day long. It's great. So that's the update for reopening. Any questions? Oh, the library is still closed. We're doing curbside only there.
Okay, if no questions, then that leads us to Shannon with some information about Broken Tea. Thanks, Shannon.
Hi there. Thanks for having me tonight. I wanted to share with you guys some, we're looking at increasing our fees for 2021. But before I do that, just give you a little quick snapshot of where we at the golf course during this COVID pandemic. We were closed for about 30 days, mid-March to mid-April. We reopened on April 19th, and that was just the golf course only. At that start, we increased our tee time intervals to 18 minutes, so that really narrowed down the number of tee times available on the course. And then our driving range did not open until April 30th. So obviously we've had an impact to the start of our season, but we are making headway. Hopefully you saw the information I shared just with a brief snapshot. Currently we're down about 15% in revenues. This is through June compared to last year. Our rounds on the championship course are down about 4%. Surprisingly enough, our rounds on our par 3 course are up 42%. I think the reason for that is when we increased our tee time intervals to every 18 minutes, there obviously wasn't enough tee times to accommodate those that wanted to play 18 holes. So a lot of those folks would jump on the par 3 course. So that's kind of exciting that we could increase the rounds there. Since then, we have gone down to 10-minute intervals on both courses, so we're able to accommodate more people throughout the day. So hopefully we'll be making some ground up and be able to make ground on our revenues and our rounds for the rest of the summer season. With that, wanted to just share with you what we're proposing for increase in fees for 2021. Hopefully everyone got the spreadsheets that I shared. I don't know how much detail you want me to go through, but I kind of divided them into 4 different categories. On our championship course, we're looking at maybe a $1 to $2 increase along the certain line items. We've outlined 9-hole play, weekday versus weekend. Our weekdays are considered Monday through Thursdays, and weekends are Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. We are wanting to offer a senior and a junior rate, and those would be valid on Monday through Thursdays only. On our par 3 course, those fees are good 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday, and you're looking at a $1 increase on most line items. We still want to keep the junior fees alone and not touch those at all. Riding carts, we want to increase by $1 per rider. So that would help with that. And then we're looking at about an average of 5% increase overall in regards to green fees and cart fees. Some of the reasons for these increases, we have not had an increase since 2018. Also, just talking to different courses in the area and working with Billy Casper Golf, our marketing partner. Most other courses in our region are considering a 5% increase as well. And also, currently with the COVID pandemic, surprisingly enough, golf is in higher demand than it has been as of late. And I think that's mostly because golf is one of those sports that it's the safest outside outlet for exercise, and people can get together and socialize with their friends and families. So we want to try to take advantage of that too for as long as we can. And also one thing too, I think our product is in great condition right now. We're getting many compliments about the course with the course conditions and the green speed, which is something that we want to strive for a long time now. So we want to make sure that our product is a good value for everyone and what they expect. Driving range, we're looking at more of a 20% increase for the range bucket options, except for the small bucket size. You're looking at a $2 increase for those. Again, based on just our conditions of our range and our practice areas, we also are every year bring in new range balls that we mix in with our assortment. And we're always sorting out all the old and discolored balls as well. So we just feel our range is a great value for everyone that uses the range area. Also, as a side note, Avid Golfer has these Keg Awards that they present once a year, and our range and practice area have been voted #1 by their readers for the last few years. So we know that we have a good product and people enjoy coming out to see this. And just also wanted to share with comparing courses throughout the surrounding areas. Even with our proposed fees, we're still pretty much at the bottom of where we're at in relationship to what they're charging with our 9-hole green fees, 18-hole green fees, and carts, and everything like that. I'm comparing and looking at the City of Denver courses that are near us, as well as South Suburban and Foothills in the Meadows. So I still think that we still will offer a great value for people that use our golf course, but we're not making leaps and bounds and trying to increase fees tremendously that it would impact them in a bad way. One exception with the driving range, if you look at it, we'll probably be at the top of the list, but we're not quite comparing apples to apples based on the number of balls per bucket. But again, with our conditions and what we offer, I think we would be just fine, and people would still want to come out and play and use our facility. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments, or if you want me to go into more details about what I shared with you, but I'd be happy to do whatever you like.
I have a question.
Yes.
For the part 3, in 2019, we only had 274 rounds. Is that what I'm reading? And
that is only just for the resident rounds.
Okay, and then going across the 895, is that only for residents too?
Correct.
So our residents part 3 has gone way down.
It has.
At least
even
that one
our
year.
regular rates as well on the championship course. I don't know why. I don't have an answer to why that is.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I support the increases. I know the golf course historically has always strived to have, be in the lower price range with having a great golf course. And I think we've always done that over the last 20 years I've been around involved. And Shannon actually taught me how to golf, so.
I haven't seen you lately, Jim, though.
No, I haven't been there. I've been staying at home, socially distancing.
Yes. Is there anything else I can help with or answer?
All right, if there's no other questions, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
And that leads us back to Christina with a budget update.
Yeah, so this is a brief update. We'll be taking our line item budget for our general funds as well as our enterprise fund, which is the golf course, to council on August 10th. Budgets were due this week. We don't have any major changes to our line items whatsoever, other than there's increased costs in healthcare, in our SURF fund, which is our trucks and fleet that we have. And so there's some uncontrolled factors that are causing our budgets to go up. For parks, recreation, and library, we're looking at an $8.3 million budget as a whole. And then golf is just a little over $2.3 million, and that includes our operations as well as our maintenance division. So, so that's what we've got going to council. Again, no major changes as far as the department. We don't know where this COVID is going to go and what next year is going to look like, and how the economy with the amount of job loss, not with our city folks, but just across our city, is going to impact long term. So it's a lot to be unknown at this time. So we're being very cautious with our budget. We did adjust our revenue numbers down for next year. We're hoping that we'll make more revenue next year versus what we're having to deal with this year. You know, so there's some challenges in budgets always, but with COVID, it's really making it a bigger challenge to forecast, as it's not a normal year this year. And like for Pirates Cove, which is not an enterprise fund, it comes out of the general fund. Last year we had weather to deal with, and so they actually had a revenue loss because of weather-related items. So of course this year we have 90 degrees and we could be packed at Pirates Cove. We're not. So it's kind of unfortunate. The luck hopefully will be on our side next year for no viruses and great weather across the board, and people want to exercise. I don't know about you, but I gained the COVID-15 and I'm ready to get back to a gym. Any questions on that? Not on the 15 pounds that I gained, just on the budget. Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and that leads us through the primary agenda and to staff's choice. I guess we can start with Dave.
You're on mute.
I have my hand up. I just wanted to add to what Christina said, and I think by next month, we'll want to bring back all the parks, recreation, golf, library budgets for a recommendation for approval from the commission. I know we presented the golf budget tonight, but when we have a little bit more complete figures and everything, I think the August meeting is the meeting that we need to get a recommendation from the commission to pass on to council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Who else do we have? Shannon, do you have anything else?
I do not, thank you.
Christina, any last items?
Nope, I covered enough tonight. It's good seeing y'all.
Likewise. Okay, well then we can go to commissioners. Let's start with Karen. Karen, do you have anything to share?
Can I jump in one more? That was something I wanted to bring up after Christina's, but I did want the commission to know that we have recoated the basketball courts out in our parks, and they look fabulous. They've got a green background with kind of a deep blue, the foul lanes and stuff, and they really pop and they look wonderful. And then over at Romans Park, we have been working on the retaining wall, which should be done here by about the 15th of July. And then the work on the grant work actually starts with Singing Hills and Renner Sport Courts coming in to do the post-tension concrete tennis courts and the playgrounds. And we hope to have that entire grant project wrapped up by early November. And that's all I have.
That's great news. Okay, Karen.
Nothing. I've just been driving around, obviously, seeing a lot of the parks, and everything looks really, really good. I'm really impressed. Still staying distancing. Everybody, please remember, this is not a hoax. People are really, I'm a nurse, people are really dying from this, and we really got to watch it. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. Christine, do you have anything for us?
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Again, I'm the partnership and volunteer manager for Denver Parks and Recreation. So some of my work spills over to this. But we in Denver have been seeing a lot of residents who are using their parks for the first time or using them in different ways, or want to give back to their parks for the first time through cleanup days or anything like that. And so if staff hears of any residents who are looking for opportunities like that and you need help figuring out how to form something a little bit more formal to get volunteer days active, especially as like our seasonal workers and our on-calls, we can't hire all of them back. So if there's ever a diminishment in maintenance and operations in the parks that maybe we could fill with volunteers, I'd be happy to help fill that gap if that's needed. That's it.
Dave, you have your hand up.
Yes. In answer to what Christine was saying there, we do have a volunteer coordinator, and that's Tony Arnoldi in our communications department. And typically all the volunteer efforts are funneled through her, at least in the beginning, and then spread out. So if somebody desires to go out and do a cleanup at one of the parks or around Centennial Lake, then our staff gets involved in that. And we very much love to have those volunteers come out and help us, because there's a lot of little things that we can't get to. So yes, it's very important to us, and we continue to seek those individuals out.
That's great. And Tony's incredible. So I have no doubt that it runs very smoothly. But if there's ever a need, I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Christine and Dave. That leads us to Kate. Kate, do you have anything for the group?
Nothing today.
Okay. Jim, do you have anything for the group?
Just questions. On the Hosanna, or one point, Dave, have you been by Hosanna? I think it was yesterday I was over there, and the grass looks really like it hasn't had any water for a while in places. So you may want to take a look at that.
Yes, I've been by, not as recently as you have, Jim. And I just wanted to remind the commission that we do not maintain or rent out the fields down there anymore. That was taken over by the school district at the beginning of the year. And I know there was some concerns about some illegal play out and activity out on Hosanna, and I had to forward all of that information over to the school district.
Okay, well, that was my second question of part one, which was the maintenance agreement. So that's already done, huh? Yeah.
It is not done. It's still over in Dr. Rubin's office for her editing and or approval. I think we're going to need to reach out to her, hopefully before the school season starts, and try to get that resurrected. But as for all intents and purposes, our park staff is maintaining the athletic field over there at Colorado's Finest, and the school district is maintaining all of Hosanna.
Okay. And I have one other question for Shannon, and that is the passes that there was that special, I think it was 3 years ago. It could have been 4 years ago. Could have been 5 years ago, but is that over now? I think it was a 3-year deal.
Yeah, it was our anniversary pass, and the initial round of them expired last year, but we redid it again for another 3 years, and we had the same response. So we sold about 1,800 of those passes in last November, and they all started January 2020, and it will go to 2022. So with those passes, during our prime time season, there's still time restrictions that they can use that pass. The championship course, they're able to use that anytime after 11, Monday through Thursday, and after 1 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. On the par 3 course, they're able to use it anytime, 7 days a week, no time restrictions. But were busy. They're filling in those spots 8 days in advance. Everyone's out is game busters, so they're a great support. They usually rent carts, driving range, they support the restaurant, so they're a good bunch of people. And surprisingly enough, we gave a 2-week window for existing members to renew. We really thought most of them would renew and that we have 200, 300 remaining for the public. We sold less than half to existing pass holders. So over half of them are all brand new people that will get to experience Broken Tea. So we're hoping that we can create some loyalty there with them.
Shannon, would you also let the commission know about the grill and what we did for the grill because of the COVID?
Absolutely. So during the COVID, they came to us asking for some leniency on some of the rent that they were asked to pay, and we agreed for just this year in 2020. They normally would give us $36,000 per year, and we reduced that down to $22,000. And then also they asked if we could adjust their starting times. So we agreed to that, and they're currently open at 9 a.m. now every day of the week. And then they're open until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So hopefully that will help them out and give them a chance to get caught up.
Okay. Anything else, Jim?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Gary, do you have anything for us?
Nothing for you guys this evening.
Okay, thanks, Gary. And Stephen.
I'm good.
All right, I've got nothing else to add either, and I assume we'll be in touch over the next couple weeks until the study session. And thank you all very much for joining us this evening. And unless there's any other questions or comments or concerns, the meeting is adjourned.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.